Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the free-to-play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. We've got free-to-play news on this episode 229. We're recording on July 27th. You're watching on the 28th or later. Whew. That was a lot to get out. A lot to get out, and we've got a lot of news to cover, including a look at two different games, one of which highly anticipated, one of which you may go, oh, okay. I didn't know that was a thing. But we'll get the breakdown first up from Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, and you want to see my nuts?
Well.
And more back there.
Interesting. I'm going to take a pass and throw it over to Q. How are you?
I'm okay. Ear's a little swollen because a fly decided to attack me in the middle of the night and try to dig its way in.
Interesting. And your house almost burned down a week or two ago.
Yeah, my neighbor's apartment did completely burn, and it the smoke crept, across into the upstairs neighbor. Luckily, out of the 4 apartments, I was, I'm diagonal downstairs from hers, so I was the last one it would have gotten to anyway.
Interesting. It's an interesting world for Miss Q. But let's slide over and get started with the news. Holy shit, that was loud. I don't think it was that loud on the recording, but damn my earphones. Let me turn that down a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right, now that I am deaf, let's talk Fortnite. The game from Epic Games. We've been talking about it for a while on the site as far as news goes. Kind of a Minecrafty building and crafting and tower defense, build your fort with other players to stave off the storm of zombie-like creatures. It's been probably, what, 2 years now that this one's kind of been in the works, Jason? This has been a while.
6, actually.
Well, now, as far as, big news, we've been covering it for a couple of years now.
Sure, but yeah, it's actually been in development for, 6 years. Yeah. I think it's been even a little longer than that, 3 or 4 that we've actually been, covering and aware of it.
So, if you're playing now, that's because you bought a Founders Pack, and if you were playing earlier this week, and maybe into this past weekend, not knowing the dates off the top of my head, it was because you pre-ordered a Founders...
Just getting started early, aren't we?
Yeah, let's get started with that one real quick and just get it out of the way. First off, when they announced this a month or so ago, and we posted, hey, they're on sale now, it took Jason and I reading through the presser at least a dozen times to figure out exactly what was going on, because Fortnite is set to be a free-to-play game. We've known that for quite some time. It's set for a 2018 release, so when we saw pre-order, we were like, what? Wait. Okay, we would have understood if you just had Founders Packs. Okay, yeah, that we get. But wait, pre-order what? What? Pre-order, and if you do, it gets you a head start. Wait, what are we pre-ordering?
Early access.
Yeah, what it broke down to was if you pre-ordered a Founders Pack, you got early access versus just buying a Founders Pack.
No, I think you got a head start.
You got a head start on early access.
Yeah.
And then you could just buy a Founders Pack and jump into early access. I don't know. I don't know. Not all packs, apparently, and we weren't able to find it because the page has since been updated to not reflect this, but apparently not all Founders Packs, according to what I was able to find on the forums in the FAQ, not all Founders Packs had the head start to early access in it. So they may have, I don't know, it was really fucking confusing is what it was. It was a pre-order of early access Founders Packs to a free-to-play game. It was the most bizarre marketing I have ever seen in my life, Q.
So it's because Founders Pack's right, you get kind of early access anyway before it goes, you get access before everybody else before it actually goes free to play. So it's early
right.
Early access.
Right, it's a head start on early access. Good sweet mother, Jason. What a mess it was. What a mess it was. And that's not even, we're not even going to go into the back end of things on the press side on how to get access for us. That was
High road. High road.
That was another nightmare that we'll just set aside. But we did get access. So, Jason, you and I have been playing for a couple of days now. And Q, you haven't had a chance to play yet, so we'll use you as kind of like fielding viewer questions on the game here. You can throw out what you think a viewer might be asking. We're going to do a dual first look on this one. We're probably going to record Monday, so look for that Monday afternoon, Monday evening, maybe Tuesday morning, depending on what time we record. Because this is one we wanted to take a bit deeper look in than just, hey, jump in and record my very first experience with this game. And I think that's probably the most fair of us, Jason, given that in a lot of respects, to me at least, and we'll get your opinion here, this was not exactly the game I was expecting.
No, and I think some of that is just because, like you said, it's been around for 5-6 years, been getting press stuff and so on about it for at least 3 or 4. And I'm not saying it's like completely different. Like it's not. Maybe it's not like on level of Firefall getting revamped 8 times or whatever.
Right. Agree.
It's still basically, like you said, this whole base building, tower defense, kind of out scavenging, going back to get your stuff thing. That said, there are a few details here and there that I remember picking up and kind of clinging to. And I probably shouldn't have, because that whole, if the developer says it at one time in early alpha pre-launch, you're going to cling to it forever and think, oh, if it's not there, the game sucks, whatever. So I do have some of those still in mind that I don't know, maybe they're still there once I get up to a certain point or so on. But my initial impressions are a little weak. It's not exactly the experience I was hoping for. I think maybe some of that will get a little better as it goes on. Actually, I'll do some, when we get into some of the more critical stuff, I'll get into some quotes that I've read from people, or quotes from an article that I read about it. But one of the quotes I read from one of the commenters, who actually himself was a game developer, he said, "The first 10 to 15 hours are quite boring as there is no challenging gameplay." To which, of course, you know me, it's like, well, it gets great after those first 10 to 15 hours.
Right?
Give me that now.
All right.
So, I agree. We do need that a little bit of initial time, because my initial impressions are not quite matching up.
Yeah, and this hasn't been this. To be fair, I think this is a title that Jason has probably looked a bit more forward to than I. Even if generally neither of us was, screaming at the top of our lungs, "I can't wait to check it out." I think out of the two of us, this was a little more up your alley than mine. Again, that just being the whole shooter and everything's a forced co-op, but then it really isn't. So if you're somebody that doesn't like to be forced into co-op, there's sometimes that, you're going to have to be, but there's an awful lot that you can try to take on by yourself, and then there's systems that I wasn't even anticipating in this game, Jason, on like being able to summon support and NPC-controlled people and arm them to help you maybe defend your base during a shield upgrade mission or things like that. So there's a lot in this game. At its core, you're going to be scavenging, finding parts, making ammo, finding blueprints, building weapons, building traps, building towers, buildings, towers, and all kinds of defense too. And the core gameplay at its heart is very find this objective, build around it. Once you build and you're ready, start the waves and do a tower defense mode, whether you're playing by yourself or whether you're with other people. And the traps and your weapons and your ammo and all come into it. You are able to swap between build mode and combat mode on the fly. So if things get broken, you can take a moment and rebuild if you've got a break in the wave. At first, let's just say, to me, Q, the controls were very not intuitive at first for me. And Jason, I don't know if you felt the same. The controls were a bit rough around the edges, and again, early access, things could change. But I did find that after playing it for a day or two, the controls felt pretty second nature at that point. So don't get discouraged by the initial learning curve of all the menus and controls. It actually does feel intuitive after you've played with it for a few days.
Yeah, that was something that worried me a little bit even when I was just watching and learning about it. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to build this base. I have to swap to my weapons. I'm gonna have to play with other people, and they're all gonna yell at me because I'm terrible or whatever. But yeah, the actual, like you said, when you first started out, and they're really throwing a lot at you in the tutorial.
Yes.
It's like, learn to build this, press this button to change this, put a door here, put a window here, make a little wall, change the materials. I was like, oh man, I'm never gonna get all that. But yeah, after just a few hours, I'm feeling a little more comfortable with it, to the point that I I don't feel like an idiot. I probably don't know how to play stuff, like what the best strategy is, what the meta is. But at least being able to do the basic stuff, I feel fairly comfortable with.
Q, what are your thoughts on this game as a whole right now?
Well, in regards to what you were saying about the menu or the controls and everything, I would kind of think that it not being intuitive would be just a result of them, doing that thing where you're stacking this kind of game and this kind of game and this kind of game and this to make a game. So once you start throwing all that stuff together and, so it's a whatever tower defense, like all the way, although it seems like the core of the game is it's like really fancy tower defense at the end of the day. Like all this extra stuff for you to get to the tower defense game is what it's, kind of reading as to me. And I mean, it's actually kind of funny other than, Garden Warfare? These have to be like, the cutest zombie-like things I've seen in a game. So the art style for, a zombie kind of game, other than Garden Warfare, I always think of that as like the exception. It seems, it's kind of cute and everything. But I think, it just seems like a lot of additional stuff for a co-op tower defense game at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's a lot of good here, though. I think we need to temper what we're saying a little bit, again, with the caveat of it's early access. Things can change. Some of our gripes may not be gripes later. This game isn't slated for release until 2018. That's at minimum 5 months away. A lot of time. A lot of things can change in that time. There is a lot of good here in this game. I'm having fun with it. I didn't expect to. It just doesn't generally appeal to me as the type of game that I would play, but I'm having a lot of fun building weird things, going on a little mission with 3 or 4 strangers, and you have one objective, but there's, 5 other different things you could be potentially doing on that same map to earn more experience, more points, so that you can upgrade the rewards chest at the end of your little mission. I love like walking around in a map and finding survivors and getting a little bonus present for doing that, or
I like smashing stuff.
Right, or finding the blueprints for a radio tower and sitting there with 1 or 2 other people building this very specific, the way they want you to build it, radio tower, so that not only do you get some extra points for using the radio tower, but then it comes in handy with its own, abilities as far as discovering the map and stuff like that. There's a lot to do. I'm maybe level 4 or 5 overall, which means I've upgraded my shield 2 or 3 times in my core home base. Not the whole game doesn't take place in your home base either, by the way. Your home base is expanded to discover more of the map and open up more submissions that you can do to earn resources, earn experience, and everything. There is a lot of good here. It feels smooth. I'm not having FPS issues. I'm not having performance issues. The game is fun. I'm finding a nice variety in things to do, even though at the end of the day, Q, as you pointed out, it is a tower defense game. Build something and defend it. But I feel like, Jason, I'm doing a lot more than that so that I'm not as bored with that type of, all right, build, defend, build, defend, build, defend that we see in other games in this type of genre.
See, on the one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, I kind of want to get into that core gameplay loop of the build, defend thing, and I feel like there's a lot of other stuff out there that's...
But you don't have to do it, but it's going to impact your rewards at the end of the mission.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, you don't have to, but you kind of do. So...
Q, what are some of the burning questions you've got about this one as you've seen some of the press come through over the last year or so without actually having had your hands on the game?
To be honest, Fortnite's not really one I've paid a lot of attention to begin with. So I honestly don't really think I have a lot of questions about it, unfortunately.
I'll tell you what the internet is having its biggest question on. Payment model.
Yeah, well, that's everything. Like, everybody cares about that payment model for sure.
There is a very, very, very long online discussion on Reddit on the payment model of this game. So, Jason, they use the equivalent of loot boxes or buying packs in the form of piñatas, which, by the way, there is nothing funnier, Q, than opening the piñatas in Fortnite. Oh, yeah, a bat will show up on the screen, and you have to smack it to open it. An axe. I've seen a bunch of different, fire axe. And the piñata, if you move your mouse around the screen while the piñata is hanging there, the piñata's eyes just follow your mouse, and they'll say different things sometimes, too. Like the one I got, I had to use an axe to open, and it said something to the effect of, so, hey, what are we going to be smashing around here? And when you smash them, their poor little head is on the ground. It's hysterical. There is a lot of comedy in the game, and it doesn't feel like forced, stupid comedy. Some of the zombie creatures I thought are very funny. The beehive people that have a big beehive for their head, and when you shoot them, they're an AoE beehive. Starts doing damage around there, bunch of bees floating around. Pitcher zombies that throw, femur bones and stuff. There's a lot of creativity in the game. I love the art style. I love the gameplay. But Jason, payment model could actually be a huge make or break for this game, particularly the way it's done right now. People not happy.
Yeah, after you get to a certain point, like as you're playing right now, with the part that we're both in, you're kind of guided along these missions that have specific goals. Like if you're in a zone, find at least 3 survivors, or take out this many zombies, or something like that. Apparently, and then of course you get decent rewards for that. Maybe you get a piñata every now and then, or you get some other kind of loot or whatever. Apparently, those missions stop at one point, and then you're down to just something. I don't remember what it is. Like every 3 missions or whatever, you get something that'll let you get a piñata or something like that. Basically, it boils down to really, really, really slowing down your progression, your free progression after that point. Of course, you can spend money to buy more piñatas, but I guess the best equivalent I thought of was when would be sort of like if you're playing Hearthstone. You know how you get the daily missions there?
Mm-hmm.
But you also get every three games you win, you get 10 gold. This would be, I think, sort of like if they just stopped giving you those daily missions, and the only way to progress for free was to win 3 games of 10 gold every time. Would really, really slow down your free-to-play progression. So, yeah, that's people are not real happy about right now.
Yeah, and to be fair, it kind of suffers from the same argument that Warframe suffers from, Q. It is a PvE game. There is no true end of the game or win. So does pay to win even become an argument? In some people's minds, no. It's a PvE game. It can't really be pay to win, and there is no win, so there really can't be a pay to win here. It is more of a... It becomes so much of a grind that I think it will ultimately turn players off because the progression does come to such a grinding halt. And progression is all over the place. It is not just your base or the particular hero that you're running with at the time, but it is your support people, your skill trees, your foundation as far as research trees goes. I mean, there are points and progression for everything. Weapons level up. You need the weapons experience to drop on your weapons and level them up. You need the experience that you get from rewards to sync onto your heroes, to sync onto your support staff, to sync onto your squads, that you can create these squads and send them to go out and do missions by themselves, but you've got to have them armed and equipped and leveled up to be able to do so.
Okay, so the question here is, all of this stuff that you're having to upgrade, is all is it all from shared points? Like, is it one set of XP that you divide, or are you getting like weird bits of XP from different things?
It's exactly that. It's actually, you get drops that look like little SD cards, and they're colored differently. And so, like these particular drops will be worth 200 experience on a hero. This will be worth X number of experience for weapons. This will be worth X number of experience for your support and your squad people. And so you use them. You can accumulate experience in all of these different categories and then just go in and start dumping it any way you want on whatever heroes, whatever weapons, whatever support, whatever research trees. Then you yourself are leveling up through basic gameplay, rewarded with experience, to get skill points that you are sinking into your own skill point tree that opens up and unlocks different game features, different things as well. I mean, there is a lot to keep track of, far more than I thought there was going to be. And I'm not ready to say that I like it or don't like it. I think, Jason, the way I worded it to you was I kind of get the feeling that there is a lot of bloat here, and there's a lot of needless systems or complexity just for the sake of feeling like, wow, this is a really in-depth system. And I haven't made my final ruling on that, YouTube, so don't bust me too hard there yet.
But yeah, like we said, I mean, they had 6 years to do it, and I think they spent all that time finding new progression systems to put into the game.
Yeah.
Now I'll read you some of the quotes from that article I was talking about. It said, he talked about tabbing from one headache-inducing inventory screen to the next on the nightmarishly busy customization menu. And he talked about the monstrous blimp of a hub interface. And that pretty well sums it up. There is just so many menus and so much UI in this. On some level, I'm kind of again, just like the gameplay, I'm kind of starting to get it, kind of starting to understand where I put here and what does this here and there. But man, I wish at some point, I think they are going to have, maybe it's going to be a year or two down the road, but they are going to have, and we're talking about this a little bit in the next section, they're going to have the big stat revamp, the great simplification or whatever. They are destined to do that at some point.
Yeah, and it's a whole weird argument. I get it because llamas, you know, the pinata llamas, they're the key as far as getting certain survivors and weapon schematics, and people want those things, and if you put too much of a grind into getting those things, the game feels like it never really has a substantial payoff for you sinking your time into it. I'm not ready to call this pay to win. I'm just not, I don't have enough personally invested into it. I understand all of these complaints. They're the same complaints that you hear about games like Warframe to a certain extent. Oh, I keep playing for X number of hours and I never really get that. Oh my god, I got to play for so much more to get that thing I really want. But I also understand, Q, from a developer standpoint, there has to be a balance to that, not only financially, but take that aside for a second. Just gameplay-wise, you can't reward everybody with everything they're going to want very quickly, or your game has no point. So it's a very delicate balance that I think right now Epic Games might be falling on slightly the wrong side. Maybe a tweak or two here as far as the way llamas are awarded or rewarded for certain things, rather than always having to buy them, or maybe the V currency, the cash shop currency that is used in the game, is rewarded a little more often. I think it can be tweaked, but I also think it definitely needs to be tweaked in some way. It's not a lost cause for me at this point, Q.
So on the like the rewards and stuff like that, is there like you were saying, if everybody gets everything at once, then there's no point to keep playing. Once you've got everything, then what do you have to, what's the carrot at the end of the stick going to be? But is there something like, is there like kind of like an auction house or anything like that where people can just pick up stuff if they want it? Or
no.
Okay, so there's nothing like that. So you definitely have to play to get the things you want.
Yep.
Okay. I actually had another question and it just went.
Like if Jason and I are playing together, we can team up and share weapons and traps, stuff like that, as far as who's placing it. But if he's got plans that for a trap that I don't magically have access to that. There is no like marketplace for me to go and get that, except for what you're rewarded in your actual skill or research trees by sinking the experience and skill points into it. Jason, I think I'm not off base there, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know. There's a lot of good here. There really is. It definitely needs to be tweaked a little bit. And honestly, Jason, it's one of those games that after playing it and reading through the Reddit and things like that about, oh man, the grind and stuff, I see people that haven't spent a dime that are on par with their friends that bought the $150 Founders Pack, which to me, that's a good thing. to see that maybe they're a couple of days behind, but they can generally keep up with their friends. That's what I want to see in this. But there's a part of me that goes, maybe this shouldn't be free to play.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you agree with me on that one?
I kind of do. Like that was something I think some people brought up in some of the comments of the articles I was reading. That maybe it shouldn't have been like that. In fact, I believe one of the first things he says in that article, he says it's a tug of war between core concept and business model that seems likely to end in stalemate. And that's not a bad assessment for it, I think.
Playing it, I don't feel like, oh my god, I am gimped to all hell and back because I haven't spent a dime in this game. Full disclosure, by the way, as far as the passes we were given, they were the standard packs. Like, Jason and I are not going into this game with the $150 Founders Pack because we were pressed. We got standard packs, so the only advantage we have is a couple minor perks, like I think it was a free pinata or two, and access early. Very few perks at all. We're going in pretty much the way a free-to-play player. If you're playing right now, you cannot get more basic and still be playing right now than Jason and I are at this point. I'm hopeful for this one because I'm actually enjoying this a lot more than I thought. I'm going to give it a thumbs up for now. With the reservation to me, there are some things that need to be changed, and I think the llamas and the V-Bucks or the V-currency maybe need to be trickled out a little more often than they are. Particularly once you get a little further along than Jason and I are from everything we're reading and watching from other people playing it. But it definitely has my interest a hell of a lot more than it did 2 weeks ago, Jason. What's your final word?
My final word is that I don't have a final word yet. I have to reserve judgment until I get into it a little more. So, but I agree with you. I think it's something I'm going to keep looking at and play around with it. Like I said, a lot over the weekend, so we can do a good first look on Monday.
Q, anything we've said here make you want to try this game, or is
Not
it
really.
just not in your wheelhouse at all?
The zombies aren't cute enough for you?
It's just, I'm not really a tower defense kind of person. I don't really like, co-op. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, it's exactly what
it's exactly.
It's
what
cute. It's cute, and I like the ideas of the pinatas. I mean, I did spend a lot of time back in the day playing Viva Pinata. So.
All right, on to other games now. This week, lots of games announcing or making some pretty substantial changes. Let's start with one from you, Jason. Paragon, also Epic Games. Paragon is doing a whole progression change and reworking rewards there. So maybe it's not too late to believe it might happen in Fortnite if they're doing it in Paragon. What's going on the Paragon side of things?
Oh, hello. My Skype froze up for a second there.
You're all right.
His did. His froze.
I imagine you asked me what are the changes?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't get any of that. But yeah, what they're doing is they're changing, basically, they're going from one long mastery loop, level 1 to 10, to smaller repeatable loops. Each of these new smaller loops allows for more rewards faster. So, right there, great, more rewards faster. Everybody loves that. After you get mastery level 10, you can earn prestige to get to the next level for more rewards. And they're also changing, what the rewards are. Changes to old rewards, changes to new rewards. Now you're going to have to spend coins to get the current rewards. And chests will contain cards and gems, which you can open now or save for later, depending on what set you want to receive. So they really are just expanding on their progression and their rewards quite a bit more. Which, hey, what's wrong with that?
Do it in Fortnite. Do it in Fortnite. On the other side, DCUO, DC Universe Online, getting a huge stat revamp. This went into effect yesterday. So if you're a DCUO fan and a player, or you're just returning to the game, huge changes there, Q. What's going on that side of the board?
Well, I mean, it's basically, they're revamping all the numbers and everything. They're updating the balance and the combat and the progression. It's basically one of those things where the players are kind of going to have to just get in there and, relearn a bunch of stuff to be able to play But hopefully it will be for the better instead of just being a confusing mess for the players in the end.
That's really amazing too, for it being a 6-year-old game.
Yeah.
For them to go in at this point and completely revamp everything. It's like, I know I did that article like a year ago where I said, is there really a point to doing it when a game is this old? Are you going to draw in more people or just piss off the old ones? And
yeah, their quote is, the revamp changes all numbers in the game and a major update to gameplay balance, combat, and progression. Not only does this add new stats, new skill trees, new powers, it actually goes into the NPCs too. They got all new stats and all new power sets, trying to provide a better foundation for character progression going forward. And Q, I think your favorite here is that if you're of the nature power set, you can also summon puppies.
Summon puppies. That would pretty much be my go-to every time if I played superhero games. Summon a puppy.
Viewers and people, the fans of DCUO, have been saying good things about it so far. Sounds interesting. Recently started back playing. Can't wait to log in and see what they've done to my character. And somebody is replying, the game's super active and got 15 powers now with water coming. That's another update coming in August. Stat revamp is amazing. You can now use iconic skills and travel power attacks instead of superpowers. Makes the game so much more fun to make your own power deck with skills and so on. So, yeah. To me, just reading it, having played DCUO a while back, it does intrigue me, Jason, to your point on, hey, it could make it feel very new and very different very quickly. Might be worth checking out if you were.
Hey, my level 30 is a nature here, so he's got to get those puppies going.
Get those puppies. Speaking of killer animals, Critica Q, I'm gonna let you take this one because this is all you. This news story was made for you, even though I had Jason write it, just because I already had you assigned for things yesterday. But Critica Online getting the Forever Friends update. Ugh.
And Jason, I think Jason took this one too, just so he could do the alliteration in the title.
Unleash killer kittens in Critica Online's new update. Jason likes the letter K. So yeah, the first major update for Critica Online went live yesterday. One of the primary features: new danger zones, making danger zones more rewarding and challenging. Increasing drop rates, buffing bosses, so more rewards, yay. Arena mode also getting a buff, but none of that matters, Q. What's the big news on this update?
The Forever Friends bundle. And yes, that's spelled F-U-R, by the way, for forever.
Oh, God.
So basically, yeah, buttons with kittens and kitten outfits and just I mean you're one step away from from everybody just turning into cats or something.
Oh boy, and I'm gonna show a little bit of the trailer here.
Especially the very end with the whole horde of kittens that they send out.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. The whole attack. There it is.
There it is. Oh yeah.
Combat enhanced pets now available in Critica Online. So you got puppies in DCUO, you've got kitties in Critica Online. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. If you like animals.
I'm more of a cat person myself, but I am allergic.
There. Before we part ways and do a first look review real quick, before we go to the bombs, Q, you had an update on something we talked about last week. We were waiting for NeoWiz to release its Bless Online reworking roadmap. It was scheduled for the 25th. They did release it on the 25th. It wasn't, at least the way I felt, it wasn't anywhere near as in-depth as I think some of us were hoping for. But what did they have to say on their side of the board?
So yeah, it's not in depth at all, but you also have to realize that it's Google Translate. So what we do have here is kind of a little bit of guesswork as well. But basically, they're going to concentrate on 7 areas: growth, by which it seemed to mean character growth, particularly combat, something called collect and produce. I'm assuming that might be crafting, travel companion. Self-explanatory, the UI and customization. And the first thing they're going to start with is the character growth. Basically, they intend to make it more tangible and allow players to feel the character growing, but when they make changes to items or upgrading runes or something like that, so that they can actually feel like their character is leveling up and getting something out of, doing all the work that they've been doing.
Still excited about Bless, Jason?
I think we've been following this longer than we've been following Fortnite. Like, I remember this back on the old Twemo days.
That's
like
true.
2012 or something.
Before we go to the bombs, we did a first look posted yesterday for Galactic Junk League, a 5v5 space combat game. Very, very reminiscent of RoboCraft. If you weren't a RoboCraft player, but you want some more current examples, think the customization of something like Crossout and the gameplay of something like Dreadnought or Cloud Pirates, a slower combat, three-dimensional based combat. Went free to play. It finally launched yesterday on Steam. I'm actually good at it. I lost on the first look, which was ironic because I was like 4-0 before I recorded the first look, and then lost both matches. The second one I expected to lose just because of me taking a fun ship that we built on the first look in. But the first one, I was like, all right, 4-0. Let's record the first look. Son of a bitch, I'm going to lose this match. But all in all, to me, I would play Cloud Pirates first. There's enough if you really, really want to build here, great. To me, at the end of the day, while the game Galactic Junk League was fun and I enjoyed playing it and was relatively good at it, so I had a general positive vibe of the whole game. To me, it really starts breaking down later in the fact that like almost 50% of people playing this at very high levels are using one of two weapons out of like 6 or 7. That shows balance issues big time. Snipers have huge advantages. The maps aren't terribly conducive to hiding from snipers. So there's a lot that needs to be adjusted, and I don't know if it will be adjusted. So at the end of the day, as much as I enjoyed Galactic Junk League while playing it, long term, for me personally, I'm going to give this one a thumbs down until some substantial changes are made as far as balance, progression, and map design. And only having Conquest mode in your play queue, I think, is a mistake. Deathmatch is now relegated to a custom match only. I think that's a mistake, too. So lots of missteps. There's some fun to be had there. If you're into this type of game, definitely some fun. But I don't know if you'll stick with it long term because there are some advantages for people being at higher levels and some balance issues. Jason, what were your thoughts watching the first look? I'm sorry, Q. Sorry, Q.
Okay.
I was like, what? Okay.
I could talk and you can move your lips if it makes a bad habit.
Bad lip reading or something. So this is one of those games that if they got balance things fixed and something like that, it might be something I would enjoy watching somebody else play for the most part, because the only part of it I would probably enjoy personally would be, the building portions, the scrapping in the building and stuff like that, rather than the actual 5v5 combat. I like PvP, but I like being the person who just kind of flakes in PvP and does my own thing. So teamwork isn't really my deal. But yeah, the whole like balance issue, snipers having advantages. I can kind of see, how that would happen, but it's definitely something that's going to have to be fixed for them to actually get people to want to play anything but that. Because if you have, if you do have something that has that great of an advantage over the other, everybody's going to want to be trying to play, the sniper. That's just, they're not going to want to do. They're not going to do something that they know is going to lose to that one thing that everybody's wanting to play.
Jason, your thoughts?
I agree with you when you say it's kind of like Crossout and kind of like Dreadnought, which I would say I would rather play Crossout or Dreadnought. Like, I don't know that I really want the two of them merged together.
Right.
Also, I like to have a somewhat more realistic feel of something. Just having a wacky spaceship with parts bolted on, and I don't know. The Scrabble ship, whatever.
Breaking news, by the way. So I think across the board, this is pretty much a thumbs down from all three of us.
Yeah.
Breaking news, by the way, and I'll send this to you, Jason, to type up. Fortnite, Zach Phelps released a statement today on the forums just a few minutes ago. State of the game, progression being the title. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but one of the key comments here is talking about, so what about everyone else? Well, remember that whole thing about us, about helping us with early access? Well, here you are, and we want to make the game better. Already, our servers are gathering data on your play patterns, and we're making sure we're always listening to what's going on out in the wild. One of the things we need help with is our advancement and loot rates. There isn't a secret cabal of llama-hating Illuminati out there who are trying to trick you into spending money on the game once you've played it for 50 hours. What there is, however, is a big RPG with lots of ins and outs. What makes the problem interesting and why we need the community's help is there are a lot of confounding factors here post 50 hours gameplay experience. Is it the fact that we simply didn't drop enough llamas? Is it because we haven't explained how survivors work well enough and how they can make your commanders much more powerful? Is it a difference between players who binge play and players who play daily? We could go on and on here, but it'll probably put you to sleep. There are rough spots in the game. They're going to be interesting problems to solve, and we hear you about them. Stick with us in early access, and we will continue to make the game better together. On that note, we did want to give you some information on how to use some of the game's features in the game. We've even included a link from one of you explaining it. So, and it goes on to give a link for how to get more stuff and make your hero more powerful through survivors and home base and things like that. So,
yeah, that's the kind of thing I hate. I hate having an outside website to tell you the basics of the game. That's
well, no, this is
I think they were trying to give credit.
Yeah, they do.
Sure. I know, but
for putting it together.
Yeah, well, they put this video by Maka is awesome. He explains almost everything we say below. So in the post, they still go through home base power is key and all these bullet points and stuff like that.
Again, it should be. That was the other thing I had was they just didn't explain a lot of the concepts in the game.
It should be in the game.
Like there are stats. What is resistance?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Good call. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs. Go ahead, Q.
You know what? I'm going to give an A-bomb to Troy for sitting on a beach right now. Well, I'm not. That's where that's going to go.
Fair enough. Jason.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to Zynga.
Uh-oh.
So they had a game, CSR Racing 2. And a couple weeks ago, they put in a car, which is apparently a certain car from the Fate of the Furious that they put into the game. It's a microtransaction. You can buy this thing, get in your game. Now, Mike, between, let's say, $5 and $35, how much do you think this car cost?
$12.
Okay, Q, what do you think?
25?
You know what? You both could be right. Because they set the price at a random amount between $5 and $35.
What?
What? So,
some people could buy it for like $5. Some could buy it for $25. It was random based on your account, whatever they decided to throw at you at that time.
So what? Like, are they grading your performance and then punishing you with a price?
Yeah,
no, they didn't say it was related to gameplay or anything like that. They just said it was like an experiment they were trying, a pricing experiment they were trying.
How could that? Who would even think that up?
Somebody who wants to make a lot of money. Probably.
I'll tell you what you do if you're.
Just set it at $35.
If you're unscrupulous and you're in the background, the characters, the people that never have bought anything from you get charged $35 for it, and the people that buy from you get charged $5.
In any case, they did eventually change it. So now it's 15 straight up.
Yeah,
and they did also say they were offering some sort of compensation to people who paid more. So
in-game currency, yay!
Yeah, probably.
Were they trying to get an average of $15 for it? Because then it would have made the most sense to be like
humble bundle that shit and call it a day.
There you go. That's a really good idea. Just be like, we're gonna let you pay us what you think it's worth. With this being the minimum amount.
Here's their word. Testing features like this allows the game team to optimize the game and gives players like you an even better experience in the future.
Because this has anything to do with optimizing the game. Get the hell out of here.
We apologize for any frustration this test may have... It's a test. It's just a test.
This is
it's a test, but we got your money.
And we're keeping it. We're just going to compensate you if you overpaid.
Oh man, let's see. Testing features is an important part of game development. We're sorry this test missed the mark and disrupted your game experience.
But thanks for the cash.
Yeah.
And no refunds. I'm going to give a dub bomb to get into play some Path of Exile on the Xbox One tonight as the beta kicked off for Path of Exile on the console. Let's go to the viewers. Edge Damadred says, Path of Exile fans kind of, sort of, almost, but maybe not quite, but almost getting their border on being cult-like. This is how Path of Exile makes money. The game does not have pay-to-win items, but extra stash tabs are pretty much a necessity if you want to get involved with aspects of the game like crafting, mapping, endgame bosses, and of course trading. The game is designed for you to collect a lot of little currencies, and past leagues have added more and more types to the core game. Grinding Gear Games has stated a significant amount of revenue does come from stash sales, but once you have enough to meet your needs, the dedicated fan in you might start looking at the supporter packs, which give no benefits and are just cosmetics. And somehow, Grinding Gear Games gets people to buy these things regularly. The thing is, I just don't feel the standard greedy malevolence found in other free-to-play games, which is why I feel there might be some kind of Kool-Aid being passed around to get people to keep buying them. So, Edge, putting forth the Path of Exile conspiracy. Jason, go ahead.
Strikoden79 says, my bomb goes to Troy. Very refreshing to hear your opinion on Path of Exile. I, too, am a huge Marvel Heroes fan. Love the game, but Path of Exile just puts me to sleep. I'm sure that it's a huge help that I'm a big comic book nerd, but it was interesting to finally hear someone else's opinion on those two games that matched my own. Thank you, sir.
Speaking of games, Suikoden79, that is one of my favorite game series of all time. Go ahead, Q.
79 chapter? I thought they were up to 5.
Yeah, they're at 79 now.
Deathlock, my 8-bomb goes to Neowiz. Poor Neowiz. They remind me of Sisyphus. He had to push a boulder up a hill for all eternity, only to watch it fall back down. Bless being the boulder, of course. They just can't seem to catch a break.
Man, that's cold.
I actually like that somebody made that reference.
The Sisyphus reference.
It's no Fantasy Star Online, too.
That's true. Joshua Knight says, question for the panel. Is there anywhere on the MMO Bomb website that we can download the audio of the podcast? I'm a full-time music university student as well as work part-time as a professional singer, so I'm out of the house commuting a lot, and it would be good to be able to download the audio to put it on my iPhone before I can leave home. Another question for the panel. Will Path of Exile come to PlayStation 4? First question, no, we don't upload it to iTunes anymore, so if you want an audio version, you'll have to rip the YouTube and convert it to an MP3 or something like that. Plenty of programs for you to be able to do that if you want to go through the work. Good luck on your studies. And the other question, will Path of Exile come to the PlayStation 4? I gotta believe that, yeah. I would assume that, barring an exclusivity deal, which I haven't seen any word of, that Xbox One just probably got queued up first due to DirectX connections between the PC and the Xbox platforms. That would be my guess. Sure. Simply guessing. What do you guys think? Any reason it wouldn't come to PS4? Just barring an exclusivity deal that we don't know about.
I think we would have already known about the exclusivity deal, though. They tend to make big deals out of those things.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Hiroko Takashiro says, the hate on Bless is just too much. I still have hope it can be good. That's cute, you having hope.
I don't hate Bless. I think we all hope that it'll be good. It's just we're losing faith by the second every time we get a news story here. Go ahead, Q.
Isaac Lukes, stash space is pretty much mandatory by late game in Path of Exile. It's a great value, but you're underestimating how important it is.
Yep, and there were a lot of people that gave that same feedback that I may have downplayed how important stash is. Fair enough, fair enough. There are many more Path of Exile experts, more experty than myself. Sky Shadow, A-Bomb to Warframe's Relics. Where do I begin? You have a random chance to get a random item so you can get random items from them? Brilliant! I spent 50 Lith N3 that I upgraded to Radiant, best rank, and I've not found what I wanted. I need just one item. Why are luck-based games so cruel to me? Is there an inside joke in luck-based games to make unlucky players suffer? Because it's not funny. I agree with you, Sky Shadow. I fall into that not lucky category on all these as well. Go ahead, Jason.
Now, the inside joke in luck-based games is to make unlucky players spend money. That's generally how it goes.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. Wilfredo Rivera says A-bomb to no really fun and interesting sci-fi-based MMOs. Although there are some like Star Trek Online and Star Wars: The Old Republic, I feel like no one has really done sci-fi right. EVE is good, but not a real RPG, as it is a space business simulator of sorts. I just want a sci-fi MMO with space exploration, cybermonks, and a lot of planets to visit and conquer. Is this too much to ask for? Wait, yes it is.
I'm with you on cybermonks.
I mean, granted, it's also a bit more of a economic simulator, but you might look into something like Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, true.
Or, Star... No, never mind.
Go ahead, Q.
Clay Ross, thanks, Mike. I love the cast. I love you guys. Great podcast.
Thank you, Clay, for the compliment. And on the flip side, OneFox1 says, boring. So question of the week last week. Steam says the best, i.e. the highest rated, free-to-play game is Iron Snout, which we talked briefly about Jason's article last week. What's your top-rated free-to-play game and why? Pudding Bear says Unreal Tournament Epic Games has done a fantastic job with the free-to-play system. See? And they're changing Paragon, and they're talking about changing Fortnite. I'm with them. I'm still with you, Epic Games. Don't lose me. Go ahead, Jason.
Elusive X Treasure says, I would have to go with Rift for multitude of reasons. Wow. That's my little comment, just wow, because everyone seems to hate Rift nowadays, so I'm interested to read what this is. First of all, the free-to-play model is decent, perhaps not the absolute best, but certainly not pay to win by any stretch of the imagination. It is a steady stream of new content by developers that seem genuinely excited about their game. The character customization has a ton to tinker with, making theory crafting a ton of fun. They have several options for leveling via quests, dungeons, open-world events, and instant adventures. The dungeons are actually challenging enough to require team play. Factions are not a barrier to partying or joining guilds, or stupid and common as this one is speech. Overall, it is a fun game with a lot to offer and a reasonable monetization.
I think there are a lot of people that would disagree with you on that one.
Do you know what? That's his opinion.
I haven't played in years, so I don't know. But
that's her opinion. If she's happy playing, and actually,
Elusive loves Rift, and Elusive and I have chatted about Rift before, and I don't generally have any. I kind of agree with Elusive as far as most of this. I don't have any huge problems with their payment model, besides the 900 fucking currencies I got to farm in that damn game. But I just know that there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with that one. Go ahead, Q.
Deathlock. My top-rated game on Steam has to be Defiance.
Wow, Tryon getting the love.
I have long over 900 hours in that game, which is nothing compared to most players. I really enjoy the incursions and the sieges. Those things can get really intense at times. I just wish they did more with multiplayer. I feel at this point they just need to take it out. Multiplayer in this game is about as dead as Skyforge's multiplayer.
Joshua Knight says, my favorite free-to-play game is Terra Online. Haven't played in a while, but when I did, it had a very fair free-to-play system. So NMAS getting some love. Go ahead, Jason.
Sky Shadow says, my top free-to-play game on Steam is Dota 2. It's perfect. You meet so many people, so unique and special. You meet racist, alcoholics, people with aggressive problems, players that never listen, players that are there for the first 5 minutes and disconnect, players that rage quit in the first 30 seconds, players who never shut up. I even met all 200 of my dads, and all of them are under 14 years old and Russian. And there's a game somewhere there too. There's a game somewhere there too. A perfect clusterfuck. Nothing beats that. Best game ever.
Sky, that's a great reply. Finish it off, Q.
Wilfredo Rivera. I hate to be a typical Terry, but I think Warframe is my personal best on Steam. Fluid gameplay, plenty of action, solid player base, and just all around fun. I can't wait for the next expansion to launch and try out their open world experience. Outside of that, Neverwinter is pretty solid, I guess.
The love was thrown around. There was no clear winner here as far as the commenters, which is good to see. Question of the week for next week. Are you excited about Fortnite? Have you been playing it? Are you one of the founders? Are you just watching it as news and streams right now? Let me know why or why not in the comments below. Until next week, Jason, where can everybody find you?
They can find me on Twitter at WinterInformal, and find me streaming, of course, at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Miss Q?
Still hanging out on the Twitter at Quitland.
Easy enough. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me personally on Twitter at MagicMan1. While you're there, of course, follow at MMOBomb so you get all the tweets for the latest news, giveaways. We just put up a ton of giveaways and we got a few more coming. First look videos, free-to-play casts, all the news and more that you could want right in your Twitter feed. Until next week, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.